that notification button. Don't forget to share this video with your fellow veterans. Good evening, everyone. My name is Dwayne Kimball, owner and founder of KMD 89 VA Claims Consulting, United States Army veteran, retired VA Raider. We have a special guest, a returning special guest, Liz. Welcome and thank you for taking the time out of your schedule to do this today. So, Liz, tell everybody a little bit about yourself and what do you do, why you do it, et cetera, et cetera.
Great, thank you. Yeah, it's great to be here again, Dwayne. Thanks for inviting me. Yes, I am a Social Security Disability Representative. So my firm, which is Montefiore Consulting, we assist individuals that are seeking SSI or Social Security Disability Insurance benefits. That can be anyone from the ages of 18 to 64 who are unable to work for at least a year.
So, Liz, how long have you been helping individuals with their Social Security, obtaining their Social Security benefits?
Longer than I like to admit sometimes. I started back in 1995 working for a couple different firms, and then I opened up my own shop in 2008.
Oh, okay. So I know you enjoy not having to answer to anyone what time you're going to be in office,
There you
what
go.
time you're leaving. Okay. So we do have a few individuals that's in. So everyone, tonight we will not be answering. I will not be taking any questions about the VA claims process, but I was getting a lot of questions from the interview that Liz and I interviewed her last November, I believe, where we did a video. She answered some questions about Social Security, and I was getting a lot of questions that I couldn't answer because that's not my background. But Liz did an awesome job. But I asked her to come on tonight and answer some of your questions. Okay. So by all means, put the comments. I'm sorry. Yeah. Put your questions in the comments section and we'll get to them. So Liz, we got our first question from, okay, here we go. How much does being 100% help for SSDI? Okay.
All right. Yeah, very good question. Yeah, it helps with significant evidence, no doubt. However, Social Security is not bound by the findings of any other agency. That includes the VA or workers' comp, for example. So what we do is we provide them with the evidence of the rating, what conditions are made up within that rating, and then, of course, the medical evidence to support it as well. But being 100% certainly gives you a significant amount of evidence in most cases to be able to present to Social Security.
Okay. Thanks for that answer, Liz. And I get asked that, a lot. And, for me, I thought that it would, have some type of impact, maybe because it's another federal agency and they're getting information from another federal agency. But yeah, the way you explained it, it makes sense.
Yeah, well, Social Security is not bound by that because their rules and their definitions of disability are quite different from those in the VA. So a lot of it's going to depend on the age of the vet, the age at which they were rated 100%, and then what their background and experience and work history is that might provide transferable skills into other work. So even though they may be precluded from past work and being found 100% disabled, depending on what combination of impairments are included there, Social Security may still find, in their opinion, that they're able to work. And that's where the fight begins.
Okay. So Liz, before we get some more questions coming up, but before we get into any other questions, go ahead and state your contact information because I know somebody's going to ask me and I'm going to be like, I can't answer that question. Liz is a subject matter expert. So before we get into the next question, if you can go ahead, phone number, email, website address, how
Sure.
can anyone get a hold of you?
Sure, absolutely. Our phone number is 813-495-8787. And our website is Montefiore Consulting. That's TE, F as in Frank, U as in umbrella, consulting.com. And then if you want to email, it's just Liz, Liz, at montefieuconsulting.com.
So Liz, is that the email that I normally send to you, correct?
Correct.
Okay. All right. I am going to pull that up and I'm going to put that in the, I'm going to put that email, and put her email in the comment section while
Great.
she answers the next question.
Okay.
All right, we got Carlos. Hi, I have PTSD in SSS. Can I claim at the VA also? Well, again, Carlos, this is just for Social Security. Um, we're not going to take any questions on the VA claims process. Liz is just here to answer questions on the Social Security side of the house. Here's one. Will SSDI expedite your application if you're 100% PNT?
Yes, they do have a process for expediting. Yes, indeed. That and for wounded warriors also, as well as anyone who has a terminal diagnosis. Those are all three categories in which the application can be expedited.
So, what would they need? What evidence um, would they need to show they meet the criteria for to get their claims expedited? Is it a certain form that they need to fill out? Is it a certain form from the VA side of the house that they need to submit with that?
No, the 100%. Let me pull up my notes here. The wounded warrior and the 100%. Really, this is based on the VA evidence that we discussed in the last question. That would be the rating determination, the details regarding which impairments are included, at which percentage. In other words, is there more than one impairment making up 100%, or is it 100% for one specific impairment? So they'll be able to have the evidence on that. If you've had several over the years that have been denied, and then gone to a hearing with the judge, and you still need to get it expedited, there's a program that will be in effect for that. The Wounded Warrior program, same thing. If you're on active duty on or after October 1st of 01, you can be eligible for this expedited process as well. So depending on which one you'd fall into, we would give you the steps to take and the evidence that you would need to prove expedited should be appropriate. Of course,
Okay.
if terminally ill situation, those you just need medical evidence of the diagnoses, and those are expedited the most quickly of those three categories.
Okay. Thank you. Liz, just want to verify that your phone number because I'm putting it in the comment section as you
Sure.
speak. Is it 813-495-8787?
That's right.
Okay. All right. So everyone, I'm putting Liz's number again in the comment section along with her email address. So all questions, if we don't get to them tonight, which I think we should, we don't have many people logged in, but if you have any questions, make sure you either give Liz a call or send her an email. Her information, contact information is in the comment section. Okay. Next question. If I collect full military retirement and 100% service connection, will I be able to collect all three benefits at age 67?
By that, I assume you mean Social Security retirement as well. Yes, there will be no impact directly to your retirement benefit based upon those two benefits that you're receiving. As far as I know, I don't specify any expertise in the retirement side of things. I know for disability purposes, it's not going to impact your disability payment. But once you reach retirement, you definitely want to check with Social Security, make sure they are clear in understanding what your income is so that you can receive that full benefit.
Right. Now, I know we had a few people in here, and please ask your questions because I know I'm going to get questions tomorrow of people that's on here tonight about Social Security, and I will not be able to answer those questions. So, while we wait on the next question, Liz, can you give the difference between SSI and SSD and some of those requirements?
Oh, sure. The SSDI is Social Security Disability Insurance, is what they call it. That's the benefit available to you based on what you pay into the system through your FICA taxes. So as long as you've paid into the system consistently and at the correct levels for 5 out of the last 10 years prior to your date of disability, then you should be eligible to receive that benefit. SSI, on the other hand, is the welfare side of Social Security. Those that have never worked and never paid into the system can qualify for that benefit, but they have to meet very extreme financial criteria. For example, as a married couple, you can have no more than $3,000 in assets and income in any given month in order to qualify for one of the spouses to qualify for SSI. If you're a single person, that limit is $2,000. So it's a very extremely limiting program. And it's there to supplement. That's why it's called supplemental security income.
Okay. All right. Thank you for that, Liz. We got another question here. Keith, hi Dwayne and Liz. How you doing, Keith? Would
Hello.
proactively hiring a vocational expert to write a letter in support of my unemployability and submitting it with my SSDI claim be prudent?
Yes, that's a very good question. And that's something that most individuals are not able to do or don't have the resources or contacts in which to do it. So, yes, getting a vocational expert, either through vocational rehab in your state or an expert that you may know in the private sector, to do an assessment of your vocational functionality, that would be very good.
Okay. All right. So again, everyone, we're not talking about VA compensation. I see some VA claims questions coming through. Um, we're here because we want to ask Liz these Social Security questions. I've been getting bombarded with questions over the last couple of months since we did the video back in November. So I wanted her to come on tonight and just answer some of these questions live. Paul, you say take us through the process. Can you be a little bit more specific? I'm pretty sure Liz can probably do that. There might be a 15-minute or 20-minute conversation. So, what is it that you would like for her to discuss as it pertains to SSI? Okay, here we go. David, will SSDI actually contact the VA to get any information they need?
They are supposed to do that, yes. When you file your application and you complete the information, giving them all your medical providers, including the VA, they are to reach out to them and request those records. Follow up is very important, of course, which is a lot of what we do in our position here to make sure that their medical records are all provided and obtained timely. Every now and then, Social Security will say, hey, we're having a difficult time getting records from such and such provider, and we'll jump in and help and get those records as well. So, because yes, they need medical evidence in order to make a decision in your case. And if the VA is your source of treatment, they're going to need those records to be able to make a proper decision.
Right. So one thing I always encourage veterans to do, Liz, is contact, because some veterans don't know the VA is broken up into three entities: the cemetery, the benefit side, and the healthcare side. And veterans can go to My Healthy Vet, My Healthy Vet, I believe myhealthyvet.gov, and they can register for the Blue Note, where they can log in and they can actually get those progress notes, immediately and download them as PDF files. So, if they need them, on the spot, they can do that. So just want to let everybody know that as
Yeah, that's
well.
great. You just have
Yeah.
to be careful that they do receive your rating information. So if you have the rating determination at the time you file your claim, I suggest you submit that with your application, because Social Security usually doesn't pursue that on their own. They'll pursue the medical records, but those records may or may not include that determination, which is vital.
And the VA is getting really good at disseminating information. It still takes some time when, for veterans to get a copy of their claims folder. But I just did some research where actually veterans can go to va.gov. That video should be up maybe the first of next month. And they can actually download all of their rating decisions. But always, one thing I tell veterans, make sure you keep everything that you send the VA and
Yes.
everything that the VA sends you. So when you talk to someone like Liz and you need that help and you're talking about, hey, I'm 100% PNT, and Liz said, hey, I need to see those rating decisions. You should have them. You know,
Yep.
I have mine is back here on the. I use it as a prop now. The big binder folder in the back there. So that way, you have it readily available, and you don't
Right.
have to wait 6, 7, 10 months to get the rating decision from the VA. But now they've made it easier where you can actually go to the website and look up and download everything that they sent you. You won't be able to get everything that you sent them, but at the end of the day, you should have a copy of that already.
Right. That's great.
Okay. Next question. Once my dependent turns 18, will a portion of my SSD benefits for support be automatically returned back to me?
No, there's no benefit return. You're talking about what's paid to the auxiliary. Yeah, they stop receiving their benefit when they turn 18, but that's the part of what they call the family maximum.
Okay.
So your individual amount is your personal insurance amount, and that stays the same. So you will not continue to get that portion of the money because that was specifically for your auxiliaries or dependents. So you'll still get your primary insurance amount.
All right. Moving on to the next question. Ron, how long can one be on SSDI, and is it subject to review even if you're 62 years of age? And at 65 years old, does it get converted to full retirement?
All right, great question. Yes, SSDI benefits are subject to review, typically on a 3 to 5 year schedule for most people. But if you're 62, it's highly unlikely that that's not going to need to happen because you're so close to retirement age. I don't think I've seen many at all that have been reviewed after that point. But yes, once you reach your full retirement age for Social Security, it will automatically convert you to a retirement beneficiary, and then you'll be receiving the amount for disability that you were receiving moving forward. It'll just be classified as a retirement benefit. And for most people, their disability rate is typically higher than their retirement monthly rate would be anyway, because of the way Social Security calculates that benefit. So what they should do, if for some reason your Social Security disability was not as high as your retirement, then they would convert you over to your retirement payment. But for 99% of the people that I've seen, it's always the other way around. The disability benefit is higher and will continue then into retirement. So they just reclassify you.
Okay, man. Okay,
Hmm.
some in-depth answers there for some good questions.
Yeah.
All right, so we have Angela. Can you explain step by step the process for SSDI?
Yes, I can do that just briefly. I'll tree top it for you and then we can delve into a little detail if you want to. The first step is the initial application. So in order to file your application, you have to meet the criteria of having enough quarters paid into the system. You have to have been out of work for 12 months, and you have to have a medically determinable impairment. And that's an impairment under their definition. Which if you have medical evidence of a diagnosis by your provider, then that should be fine. Once that's established, the application is filed. The local office in your area will receive your application and send that to the disability determination office. That's usually in another part of your state. There's usually several throughout each state. And they will be the ones that review all the medical evidence. They'll send you paperwork to fill out, and they will make the ultimate decision on whether or not your case meets the criteria. They then send your case back to your local Social Security office and recommend what they feel the decision should be, and the local office issues that decision back to you.
Okay,
So
thank
if
you.
that decision is not favorable, then there's a whole appeal process you would go through and that type of thing. So I don't know if you want me to go into all those appeals as well. We can certainly do that.
Yeah. No, I would say Angela, definitely contact Liz. Maybe schedule Liz. And I didn't ask you this. I
Yeah.
know we talked about your contact information.
Mhm.
Do you have on your website? Is that where they go? Do you take consultations? If so, how long are those consultations?
Yes, there's a spot there that you can request a consultation. They're all free. Everyone gets a free consultation of 30 minutes just so we can discuss your situation and determine whether or not we're able to assist you with an application. And if not, try to identify other resources maybe that we could refer you to. So yeah, absolutely. You can click the contact us button and fill out a form, and that goes straight to my email.
Okay. Thank you for providing that
Sure.
clarifications. So again, everyone, again, don't leave me a comment on YouTube asking me about the Social Security, because I'm going to say, did you contact Liz? Have you scheduled your consultation?
Yeah.
Have you called her? I'm only conducting the interview because I received a lot of comments on the video that we did last year about Social Security, and I could not answer them. Okay. So let's move on to the next question. Ken Green, 80% VA disability and also receive SSDI. Both disabilities are back and PTSD. Should I file TDIU, and will SSDI help with that claim? We're only taking questions for Social Security. So, Liz, if you could take the second part of that. But before you do, what he's talking about, TDIU, individual unemployability, the VA will, if the veteran meets certain criteria, they will grant them unemployability. Basically, what that means is they're unable to obtain gainful employment from their service-connected conditions that the VA has recognized. So basically, what he's asking, if he gets granted that benefit through the VA, will it help with his SSDI claim?
Yeah, it sounds like he's already receiving SSDI. So if he wanted to use evidence from that case to help pursue those benefits, he can request the file from Social Security and they can send it to him. They burn CDs and send you evidence that way. Um, but other than providing evidence, I don't know that Social Security would do a whole lot to assist you. But they could provide you a copy of your evidence if that's what you're looking for.
Okay. All right. Paul, my question is, if your body is failing you and you're still working, how do you transition to SSDI or SSI? Do you still have to wait a year before you stop working? Good question.
That's a very good question. And a lot of people are in that dilemma. As you described, they have a condition that's progressive, and they know that they're going to be getting to a point where they're no longer going to be able to work. So if you have any kind of program like long-term or short-term disability through your employer that you're able to access and go out on those benefits, if you're receiving benefits from that type of program, those are not seen as wages by Social Security. If we provide evidence to Social Security that you're receiving benefits from a disability company, and therefore your clock can start ticking once you begin to receive those disability benefits from a long or short-term carrier. If you don't have that program available, if you're out on FMLA and you can document absences on a regular basis and have that documentation from your doctors, that can help start that clock ticking. But if your wages are over the limit for what's allowable by Social Security to work and still receive benefits, then you may still have an issue there that can't be resolved. So I think maybe you should contact me offline, Paul, and we can go a little more into your situation. I can give you some better ideas.
And Paul, if you scroll up earlier, I put her contact information, her phone number, and her email. So let us know if you can see that. So we don't have any more questions right now, Liz, but I got a
Oh,
couple that I think that will, while we wait on some other additional questions to come in, I get asked this all the time from the VA side. Hey, how long does it take for the VA to, make a decision?
mhm.
And they have average wait times, but I never really looked at those or took those seriously, because there's so many things that can happen behind the scenes, and everybody's claim is different.
Right.
So I won't ask how long does it take for Social Security to make a decision, but in your experience, and I know every claim is different, if
Mhm.
you could give a ballpark figure of what you witness, if you know all if the individual has all their documentation and everything goes smooth, what are some of the average times that you've seen without any hiccups of the process.
Right. And that is a difficult target to nail down. You're absolutely right. Right now, you may hear a lot of people call me and tell me, well, I've heard that with Social Security, it takes 2 years before they'll even make a decision. And that is not totally true. But if you have to go through all of the appeal levels, it can be true. So, yes, the first level from initial application to the first decision is typically right now running about 9 months to a year in a lot of jurisdictions. Ever since COVID, Social Security has been extremely slow at these initial levels of decision making, which was not true prior to the pandemic. Um, Once you get that initial decision, if it's a denial, you have to appeal it. You have 60 days in which to do the appeal. And then they're at the request for reconsideration, which can take another 6+ months sometimes. Once that decision is made, if it's a denial again, then you're ready to request a hearing in front of a judge. Once that request for hearing is filed, things move a lot more quickly. So that can take usually maybe 4 to 6 months to get scheduled and heard at this point, at least in my jurisdiction right now. But again, those are just average times, and it could change depending on Social Security staffing and other issues.
Okay. So you brought up something that caught my attention,
Hmm.
COVID. So over the last 2 years, before COVID and during COVID, did during COVID, did it, was the process longer than what it was before? Or would it, by using Zoom and virtual
Hmm.
communication, did it make the time period be reduced a little bit, or um, was it longer?
Yeah, what happened there was because of the pandemic, all of the hearings became virtual. So we use phone or Microsoft Teams as our platforms for most hearings. We've only recently just started doing some back in person. So, yes, the hearings process became much quicker and they reduced a lot of their backlog at the hearing offices all over the country because the judges were at home just like we were, and we were all
Mhm.
able to do a lot more hearings in a day than we used to between driving back and forth to the offices and all that kind of thing. But the initial stages of the case, like I explained the earlier months, 9 months to a year, and then another 6 months, those have continued to extremely expand into more delays since the pandemic due to staffing issues and other things that Social Security continues to state are going on. Yeah,
Right.
before the pandemic, it was completely the reverse. It used to take little time to get an initial decision, but the hearings process took forever. So now it's completely flip flopped over the
Okay.
last 2 years.
Right. I know the VA went through something early on with COVID. I think that was back in what, 20 2020 or
Hmm.
2021.
20.
And yeah, 2020. And I don't think, and maybe, it happened to Social Security, they weren't ready for it. So,
Right.
but I think the good thing that they weren't ready for it. So I think managers didn't know how to process it, but they had things in place already that made it easier because a lot of the workforce was already working from home. So they had computers. I was, right before I retired, I was working from home full time.
Nice.
So I could call veterans, through the computer if I needed to, emails. But I think just the video portion of it, if they had to do hearings, but, you don't really need the video. You can audio,
Right.
but those, I think those were minor things, but they were major hurdles for the VA initially. But then they start coming out, making adjustments and coming out with ways that uh, the judges could do the hearings.
Hmm.
But I think that's a quick fix because we were at another live stream and we didn't get started on time, and I went out, create another event, and we were just in here. So
Hmm.
I think the VA has come a long way, but still has a way to go.
Yeah.
Okay. We got some thanks here. Paul says, thank you both. I will be in touch soon, Liz. I'm gonna hold you to that, Paul. I'm gonna ask Liz next week that Paul that Paul call you.
Yeah.
Bill says, thank you for your service, Mr. Dwayne. Thank you, sir. All your videos are awesome. I really appreciate that. And like I said, everybody, let's give a thumbs up and, thank you to Liz. She, again, she did a video, we recorded video last November. Got a lot of views, a lot of questions, good questions, and I want to bring her back to just ask some of the questions that I was getting that I definitely uh, I couldn't I couldn't answer. But while we're waiting on some more questions here, Liz, has there been anything? Has Social Security made any announcements about maybe upcoming changes to the process? Anything that you've seen that's going to be new that's different from last year, maybe the year before?
Nothing of any significance, really. They're starting to reopen the local offices now for limited hours in person. So if you need to go into the office, you are able to get appointments here and there. They're still requiring masks at the offices, but you are able to get some in-person business done if you need to. So that will continue to reopen, I'm sure, as we progress through this year. The hearings that, as far as we've been told so far, they're going to continue to offer the phone and video platforms in addition to increasing their in-person hearings again, and make all three choices available to individuals, which is really great. Because sometimes it is in their best interest to be in person with a judge if that's possible, or at least have the video for them to really get a good feel for your situation. Um, so those will continue to be reopening and be scheduled in person.
So, quick question, Liz.
Hmm.
How many, you may or may not know this, how many replacement Social Security cards can an individual get in their lifetime?
That I do not know the answer to. So
Oh, okay.
good question.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was on the VA, I'm not VA, I was on Social Security's website and I ordered one. It had to be 5 or 6 years ago, maybe longer.
Hmm.
And I think it said you can only get 10, if
Okay.
I'm not mistaken.
Hmm.
That was on their website. And also, I went to their website, I want to say last year, um, after we had talked, and it's a document that you can get. They used to send it out. And I know we talked about this before,
Yeah.
where they would tell you, give you an estimate of your SSSI, SSI, SSD. What is that letter called?
Yeah, that's just your benefit summary or benefit analysis estimates. So you can access that online at Social Security's website now, which is ssa.gov. And they have a tab there called My Social Security. So if you click on that tab, it will take you to a course of instructions on how to set up an account with your Social Security number and with your passwords that you create specifically for that purpose. And then you'll be able to access all that information yourself right there on your computer.
Okay, good, good.
Mhm.
So let's get these questions in the comment section for Liz, everyone. Okay, Eddie says, "Can I claim SSI and 100%?" But yeah, you definitely could
Yeah.
claim 100% PNT, and I'm pretty sure SSI, SSDI. But like Liz earlier, Eddie, she went through the criteria for SSI and SSD. Um, and here's this infamous question, Liz: How long is SSDI? If you want to take that, Liz, I know we just talked about
Yeah,
that.
that's okay. Yeah, once you're awarded SSDI, it is a benefit that will be reviewed every 3 to 5 years by the agency. So it's important that you maintain your medical treatment, follow treatment recommendations, keep everything updated medically so that when they inquire about your current status, they'll have evidence quickly available to them to be able to see that, yes, you still meet the criteria medically, or in the alternative, they may say, oh, there's been improvement, so we're going to be cutting off your benefits. And then they send you that type of notice, and then you're off and running with another fight on your hands, perhaps.
So when you say improvement, what are some of the things that you've seen in individuals' progress, medical progress notes that showed that they improved?
Right. For example, if you have a heart situation, maybe you had a significant heart attack or stroke with real significant residuals that lasted a year, 2 years, something along those lines. But then over time, there's been more improvement. They're going to take a look at that and say, all right, well, based upon these notes, there's improvement to the point where you no longer meet the criteria. We feel you should be able to perform at this level in a job and perform these jobs. So that's where we get into having to make sure that we have proper evidence of functional deficits that may still remain that Social Security is overlooking.
So the person that's making that determination that your condition is improved, is that just a medical professional that's been contracted by Social Security, or is that an actual Social Security non-medical individual?
No, those cases are also sent up to the Disability Determination Services. So they do have medical professionals there that will review the case and make that determination. They are contracted by Social Security to do that.
So I know it's a term that we use on the VA side, especially when veterans are getting their private examiners to complete disability benefit questionnaires. And one of the statements that they put in there, that the condition is considered permanent.
Hmm.
So does it make sense for, if you going for, saying I can't work, I'm applying for Social Security disability because of my back and my knees, and I'm a bricklayer.
Hmm.
Does it make sense for the doctor to put in those progress notes to state, hey, this condition is not going to improve and it's permanent?
Yes, that's an important statement, but it's not detailed enough on its own to allow Social Security to give an award. In addition to it being permanent, they want to see functionally what does that mean as far as ability to stand, sit, walk for prolonged periods of time, lift and carry, do other
Mhm.
exertional activities, or in the case of mental impairments, how does that going to affect attention and focus, concentration, interacting with other people over the course of time. So while it could be permanent, they want to see specific functional details in those reports as well.
Yeah. And I'm glad you brought that up, Liz, because when I was a department manager, supervisor in the private sector for manufacturing companies, people would go out on short-term disability, and then they would come back, and we would have to fill out these work restrictions
Right.
for them. So does Social Security have anything, or do you have a document that veterans can, not veterans, but any individual can take to their private doctor to say, hey, um, they're limited, they can't work because of their back. They can
Mhm.
only stand for X amount of time before they have to sit down, how that condition may impact them if they try to go back employment, how if they try to go back and get gainful employment, and how it will impact them in their social life. Is there a document out there or something that you may use or know of, that document that anyone that would help individuals in that regard?
Yeah, absolutely. Social Security has a form like that. It's much more general than the forms that we use. We have forms that we developed, some of which are general, can be used in any case, but some of which are very specifically attached to certain medical diagnoses. So if you've had um, heart attack, or if you have orthopedic issues, or if you have the mental health issues that are significant, more specific functional questions are asked depending on the medical condition that's suffered by the individual. So yeah, we have many different forms that we use. And a lot of that's going to depend on the age of the individual as well, because folks that are over 50 have different burden of proof than those that are under 50, under Social Security. So if you're under 50, you have the heaviest burden of proof. So you need the
Mhm.
most detailed evidence. Those that are over 50 or 55 don't need to have quite as detailed an analysis. We hone in on those specific things so Social Security will look at for an individual of certain age categories.
Okay, cool. All right, got another question. Jamal, wonderful insights. Thank you so much. Definitely appreciate it. I filed for SSDI several years ago, having suffered a workman's comp injury. The judge made an error, and I was told so. I'm currently a veteran at 30%. What's next?
All right, so the Social Security judge or the workers' comp judge, I guess would be my question there. And that might be a good one, Jamal. We may need to talk more offline about that. If there was a Social Security hearing and a judge denied your case, and it's been more than 60 days, that appeal period has closed. So you would have to look at filing a different case, a new claim. Um, but again, I would have happy to talk to you offline about your situation in a little more detail.
Okay. Liz, you mentioned appeals. So once an individual is denied, they have only 60 days to appeal?
Correct. At each level, there's three different appeal levels in most cases. Each of them has a 60-day time frame in which you need to file that appeal.
Okay.
Mhm.
Michael Perry says, "How does your retirement income affect the taxes on your Social Security?"
That's a really good question. And as I do with all questions regarding taxes, I defer you to your accountant. I can't keep up with all the tax liabilities and criterias that come out regarding Social Security. So I'm sorry I can't answer that question for you.
All right. Moving on. We have Eagle Wings. If a veteran has only 10% for tinnitus and SSDI for 9 years, what needs to be done to get TDIU? Okay, Eagle Wings, this is a VA question. We're only taking Social Security questions. I do have videos on my channel where I talk about the requirements for TDIU. Okay, let's see. Here we go. Here's Social Security. Doug, I'm 90% without doing any secondaries yet. I don't even know what Social Security can do for me. Is there a quick rundown that you can advise on? Um, how can you best answer that?
Yeah, with
Liz?
90% without any secondaries means you have a significant issue for sure. I would need to get more details from you about your situation. Social Security disability application could be filed if you've worked enough, like say 5 out of the last 10 years, you have to have worked enough at the high level to get your quarters in order to qualify for that claim. So you could file an application with medical evidence to support your 90%. But
All
again, I
right.
would need a little more detail about your case to give you any more specific recommendation.
So, Doug, I put Liz's email in the comment box for everyone. And don't forget that if you scroll up in the comments, you'll see her phone number as well. Okay. She does free consults, but definitely you can go to her website and schedule that consult. And can you give your website again, Liz?
Sure. Yep. It's Montefiore Consulting. That's MontefF as in Frank, U as an umbrella, montefeureconsulting.com.
Type it in the
Yeah.
comment section. So MONTEFU consulting.com.
Right.
Okay. All right. All right. So everyone, I just put her website in the comment section. So you should have it. Jamal came back. He says they said it was an administrative error. He said the judge made an error. So I think you had the question you had for him was it at what level?
Right. If it was a
Mhm.
workers' comp judge or the Social Security judge. If it was a Social
Okay.
Security judge, an administrative error, if it was several years ago, you're way outside your appeal period. But we need to take a look at filing a new case or if there was any way to reopen the old one. Again, it depends on how many years ago and some other things. So definitely give us a call or shoot me an email and we can get more into the
Okay.
details on that.
Yeah, I'm looking at additional comment. He said it was
Right.
administrative judge made the error. So definitely, Jamal, thanks for that question. But definitely reach out to Liz so she can get some additional information from you. He says SSDI administrative
Okay.
judge.
Right.
Okay. All right. Here we go. Let's see. Is an individual is currently on SSI with an age of 64 years old with the SSI transfer over, or does the individual has to apply for Social Security at the age 65?
No, you would need to file for your Social Security retirement, which is a separate benefit from SSI. So once you get that retirement application filed, if your retirement payment is under the threshold for what SSI maximum is, then you still might be able to retain some of that SSI benefit as a supplement. But again, it depends on what your retirement payment is going to be.
Okay. All right. So everyone, we have about 10 more minutes before we wrap up, but I am going to put Liz on the hot seat like they do on ESPN, but I'm pretty
Uh-oh.
sure that she can answer this. And I get asked, a lot of questions about VA claims, different scenarios. So if I'm currently working,
Mhm.
I'm employed, but I'm over the income threshold. for SSD or SSI. And I'm having issues at work where I'm, calling off, have FMLA. Um, will it make sense for me to go out on short term, long term disability, not to get paid, wait for a year, and then file a Social Security claim?
Well, if you go out on short-term or long-term disability, the clock starts ticking once you start receiving those benefits. So you wouldn't have to go out and then wait a year. The clock starts ticking once you're off work and you're no longer earning wages. Because what they're going to look at is what is your wage coming in each month. And for this year, 2023, 1,470 is the maximum that you're allowed to earn, and that's gross, in order to not have any impact to a Social Security disability claim.
Is that a month?
That's a month, yes.
Okay. All right, man. That's really low.
It is quite low.
That's really low. Can you talk about the increase? I know uh, the VA had went through an 8.7 increase, and when I was doing research for that video, I kept coming across Social Security, Social Security, Social Security. It's like Social Security sets the standard of the cost of living allowance, or cost of living increases. So, can you discuss um, the increase? Did Social Security get an 8.7% increase?
Good.
And was that the largest ever, or has been larger increases in the past?
Well, it's based on the Consumer Price Index, so I'm not sure, honestly, if it's the largest ever, but it's been the largest in quite some time because of what's going on with the economy. So when the economy and inflation are what they are, you're going to continue to see these higher COLAs. When the economy is running more smoothly, the CPI is not quite as high, then that's not going to be as much of an issue as far as getting those high COLAs. But as you know, the Medicare premiums also went up. So for a lot of people, even with that in COLA, which was quite generous, a lot of them really it was a net wash for them because the Medicare premiums also went up. So it's a difficult situation.
Yeah, and when I was doing the research, and you call it the consumer index, they take it from the average, I think, and multiply it from the previous year's third quarter, if I'm not mistaken. But that's something that I didn't know, and so I was like, okay, well, let me go see what the consumer price index was, from last year, been 2021, year before that, for the third quarter, and followed that formula, and that's what it came out to be. And I was like, wow, okay. So that's something that I definitely didn't know. So that's something, for all veterans or non-veterans, getting Social Security. What do you think that increase is going to be? Use that formula from the third quarter of consumer price index from the previous year, but then it still has to be approved by the federal government as well.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Okay, we got a couple more questions. Um, I've been 100% PNT for 10 years and submitted my application for SSDI last September. I was unaware my VA rating could expedite my SSDI packet. Can I still take advantage of this service? If so, how?
Yes, you can contact the local office that's handling your case, or if you have a representative who's helping you, ask the representative or attorney that's assisting you to contact them and make sure they have all the rating information from the VA. And they should be able to, what they do is they pull it out of line and expedite it. Again, their definition of expedited is not always our definition of expedited, but it will pull it out of line and you won't have to wait in the queue like everyone else if you have that information documented.
Okay. I was about to ask you something. I just lost my train of thought. Oh, when you represent individuals, Liz, is there are you limited to the only state of Florida, or do you represent veterans from all over the country?
We represent individuals all over the country. The Social Security Disability Program is the same in all 50 states and Puerto Rico, actually. So we're able to help folks no matter where they are.
Man, so if you had to go to court in Puerto Rico,
Yeah.
that could be a vacation for you, right?
Yeah. Well, since I'm already in Florida, it'd be a quick flight, right?
Yeah, yeah. The crazy thing about that is, I was looking at, we go to, my family and I, my wife and I, we go to Caribbean a lot, and it's hard to get direct flights to the Caribbean out of Tampa.
Hmm.
It's easy out in Orlando, Miami, Fort Lauderdale, but we always have to fly to either Fort Lauderdale or Tampa, or fly up to Atlanta, depending on the airline that you fly with.
Yeah.
Okay. So another question here, Freddie. Second part of my question: SSI, will the Social Security office mail me the paintwork? Will contact me, or do I have to contact them myself? Also, will my SSI stop at age 65?
All right, let me do the second part of that real quick first. With SSI, it's the same as we talked about earlier with the SSDI. It's a reviewable benefit. So they will review your case for continuing disability periodically. But once you reach retirement age, you then file for your Social Security retirement. And depending on what you receive for that benefit, your SSI may or may not stop. So that's how that would be handled. The first part of your question, I'm not sure what paperwork you're referring to with Social Security sending to you. You file the application and make sure they received it once you signed it and they have confirmation of your case in the system. They do have an obligation to send you paperwork as part of the process, but follow up is key. You have to stay on top of them, especially in these days recently where they've been so backlogged.
Wow.
Yeah.
So when you say the backlog, are they, if you had to put months to it, the 6 months? Like I know the VA, when I first started the VA years ago, they were backlogged. You were looking at like 2 or 3 years, but they put some process improvements in place and has reduced that tremendously. Has Social Security done the same?
I hope they will for these first levels here, the first initial and reconsideration. The hearing level they have certainly caught up the backlog in most jurisdictions now, but you're looking at a year usually at least right now to get through those first two levels.
Wow.
Very, very arduous. Yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
If there's circumstances permit that we're allowed to expedite, or we try to gather evidence that's going to be real strong and using the forms I talked about earlier to document functional
Hmm.
capacity, we try to get that all submitted during the time where it's pending so that once it finally does get reviewed, we can get a decision sooner rather than later.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Cool. All right. So we got a couple more minutes before we wrap it up. So definitely ask your questions now. It's sort of like, or forever hold your peace, or until you contact Liz, because I would not be able to answer these questions if you leave a comment a little bit later. But before we wrap up, Liz, again, I just want to thank you for taking the time. I know you're busy, out of your busy schedule, to do this, and just thank you for the support that you provided. KMD 89 VA Claims Consulting. Liz helped us with our turkey giveaway last year. Yeah, it was last year. I'm trying to think of Thanksgiving. It was last year. Uh, and we're going to do an event this year. And maybe since I'm talking about at the end of the video, people may not watch that long, but if you are in the Tampa Bay area, we're going to be putting together, and we're going to meet next week with some other individuals, the first annual Tampa Bay Wellness and Financial Veterans Summit. Okay, so we're going to have Liz. She's going to come on and present. We're going to have breakout sessions. She's going to present, talk about Social Security. I'm going to talk about VA compensation, and we have another individual that's going to come on and talk about veteran suicide. Another mental health professional come in and talk about different mental diagnoses that affect veterans. Just got confirmation today. Another individual, she's going to come on and talk about VA home loans, and someone else is going to come in and talk about. We have a two-time kidney transplant recipient. He's going to come on and talk about his journey and things that you can do if you have stage 3 or 4 kidney disease and other maybe another heart disease or something like that. Things that you can do from a health standpoint. So very excited to get that going. Like I said, we're going to be meeting next week. So if
Yeah.
you're in the Tampa area, you definitely please come out and support. An event is going to be free. A lot of people, I don't know, they kind of shy away from something that's free, Liz. But with these number of individuals, their background, their expertise, come out, get the information. I know you would not be disappointed. So we're getting it still in the works. So definitely be on the lookout. I'll be talking about it more in my monthly veteran roundtables, my live Q&A sessions. I'll be putting it out on social media and some of my YouTube videos as well. And Liz will be sharing it on her website and other social media as well. Um, and I just want to give a shout out to someone. This gentleman here, Don Free, he says, "Thank you both for bringing this content, great value." And the reason why I brought him up is because we were going through a veteran entrepreneurship program back in the fall of 2019, and every time we would meet in person, I think it was before COVID, so all our meetings were in person. He's a Marine vet, and he would ask me questions about the VA claims process, and I'll just be rattling off stuff. And towards the end of the session, he says, "Hey, you ought to start a YouTube channel." And I'm like, "Man, nobody's going to listen to me on YouTube." And look, years later, look what we're doing, what I've been able to do with this channel. So definitely, I want to give him a big shout out and say thank you. He's in the Tampa area as well. So he's an individual that inspired me to go ahead and start a YouTube channel, and it's been growing ever since. So definitely, I would like to say thank you, Don. Let's see who we got. Freddie, great value, help. Thank you, great class. Not a problem. You're definitely welcome.
Mhm.
Got a couple more questions. Eddie, can you work while waiting for a decision for SSDI? Ooh, good question.
Yep, that is a good question. Yes, you can work, but again, the earnings cap, in order for it to not have an impact on your claim, is $1,470 maximum earned per month gross pay.
So that's like maybe an hour every day being a Walmart greeter.
Right?
Something minimum wage, something
Very
that
part
you
time.
definitely
Yeah,
because you could now. You said that was that gross or net
that's
the one
gross.
thousand.
Excuse me, that's
Wow,
gross. Yeah,
man. Okay, wow.
yeah.
All right. So Jamal says, "I'll contact you as soon as possible. Thank you both for all you've done and are doing. It's the work of the real superheroes. God bless you." We definitely appreciate that, Jamal.
Thanks, Jamal.
And I'm gonna hold you to it. Because if I see you on my YouTube live next month, guess what I'm gonna ask you? Jamal, did you contact Liz? Okay, there was somebody else too. So I
Yeah.
will make I'm definitely gonna make a mental note. So with that being said, we're gonna go ahead and wrap up. Liz, is there anything else that you would like to add that maybe that you could think of, that a question that didn't get answered that you think would be important for the individuals that signed on tonight?
I think the most important thing is as you're meeting with your doctors for all your follow ups and appointments, just make sure they're recording everything you tell them is going on, not just from a medical symptom standpoint, but from a functional standpoint. If it's in the records that you're having a hard time doing things like lifting, carrying, standing, walking, like we talked about, is going to be much easier for Social Security to evaluate the impact of that on your claim and on their decision. So,
Uh, Now, another question, Liz. Do you have, I know you talked about these documents, like you just said, walking, standing, someone to fill those out. If an individual contacted you and became a client, do you have medical professionals or network of medical professionals that could possibly see that individual in person and complete that information for them?
well, I do have some contacts in that regard, but it's usually best to have the treating sources be the ones to fill that out for continuity of care purposes. It's easy for Social Security to say, oh, well, you just got that evaluation because you have a representative now. But where's the evidence to back it up? But if you have notes from
Um,
your provider and they're the ones that are completing the form, it's much stronger, giving greater
Yeah.
weight. Yeah.
Okay. So, it's the same thought process I would have, for the VA when it comes to this evidence. I always tell veterans, keep everything that you're sending to the VA that they send you. Make sure you get your progress notes because I'll hear veterans, they'll say, "Oh, I was going getting treatment for 10 years at this particular doctor's office and he retired
Right.
5 years ago." So definitely I would say if this is something that you're considering, maybe a year out, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, go and get that documentation,
Mhm.
and you can have it. So if that person retires, or they go out of business, the medical office, whatever, at least you have something, you
Yes,
know, and you could be proactive instead of reactive. And I think, I would say, Liz, that will probably have a negative impact on your claim if you didn't go ahead and be proactive and get that documentation.
it can.
Or,
Yeah, and that's a very good point. Most providers will purge it after 7 years. So,
yeah, okay. Uh, Paul said he already contacted you, so we got
oh,
Paul on the
right.
hook. He is on the hook.
Okay,
Okay, Paul. One
awesome.
last question before you go, Liz. You mentioned the 5-year rule. I submitted my SSDI application. Is this September? If this application is denied and I start working at age 50, how will the 5-year rule affect my Social Security at retirement age?
Well, for your retirement calculation, they're going to look back at your entire work history, whereas with disability, they look back just at the last 10 years in order to determine what your rate of pay is going to be. So if you haven't worked, for 5 out of the last 10 years, then you don't have enough paid into the system for that time period to qualify for Social Security.
Mm,
So that's a difficult part where if you do have a situation that you think you don't have enough earnings, or Social Security tells you are denying you because you don't have enough quarters, definitely get in touch with me because there are some ways that we can try to get around something like that.
wow, good question.
Yeah.
One last question here, Liz, and this is gonna, I
Mhm.
promise this will be the last one. And Freddie says one last question.
Okay.
How soon do I need to submit my paperwork for Social Security? I'm U.S. retired and I'm 64 years old.
As soon as you have your evidence gathered, you can go on their website, ssa.gov, and they have a tab, Apply for Disability, and it'll walk you through the process and getting that application done right online. So you can do it from home at your convenience, but the sooner the better.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
So that's it for that's it, everyone. We're at our hour. We're in 2 minutes over. So I definitely apologize, Liz, for keeping you.
Oh, that's
But
okay.
again, thank you for coming on tonight and doing this. I think it was a lot of good questions, and maybe we can have Liz back in the future. But again, I mentioned we're trying to put this wellness and
Mhm.
financial veteran summit together here in the Tampa Bay area, and we will be live. Okay, we got to hash out, iron out some logistic issues and stuff like that. But we're looking maybe late April time frame. But again, once we get everything locked down, hopefully here in the next 2 or 3 weeks, um, we're going to be promoting it out there on social media. Okay, and again, this event is going to be free.
Yeah.
You just give up maybe a half a day of your time on a
Mhm.
Saturday to come out and get some really good information, and then meet us in person, right, Liz?
That's right.
Yeah, they get to meet us in person.
Yeah.
Okay, okay. So thanks again, everybody, for joining us this evening. Definitely appreciate it. I do my roundtables the first Wednesday of every month at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Make sure you subscribe to my YouTube channel. Make sure you can follow me on LinkedIn. Just put in my name, Dwayne Kimball, on LinkedIn, and follow me there. You can get updates. Also, I have a uh, uh, Facebook business page and Facebook veterans group as well, where you can post all this. And Liz, also, I didn't ask, but do you have any a Facebook business page, or you're on LinkedIn as well, correct?
Yes, I'm on LinkedIn and Facebook as well under the business name Montefiore Consulting. Yep.
Okay. Okay. All right. Sounds good. So again, thanks everybody for the questions. Definitely appreciate it. A lot of good questions, and I'll see you in the next video. Thank
All
you.
right. Thanks. Have a good night.